Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk about resent. Let's have a quick convo about why someone who's narcissistic could possibly be resenting you. You're probably sitting there like, why is this person mad at me? Like, they were the one that caused all of the drama, all of the chaos. Why are they resentful towards me? Why are they giving me the backlash? So in this video, I want to go over just why they're resentful. Resentment is a very complex emotion because basically what it is built up, unacknowledged, suppressed feelings that a person has where they feels as though they were wronged. The problem with resent is it's lingering emotions. It's not stuff that has been expressed, talked about, or dealt with. And so when that builds up over time, you of course get resent. This is where the hostility starts creeping in, where the passive aggressive behavior happens. You can have a little silent treatment giving someone. You really feel like you're the victim here. No matter if the situation is a real situation that actually happened or if it's just imagined and people will just assume that they're the victim because they want to portray a story that makes them feel like the victim. Either way, when a person feels as though they were wronged in any way by you and they are not dealing with how they feel, they will build up resentment. Sometimes you can deal with how you feel and you can still feel resentment, and sometimes you can just suppress it, and it's building and building, and then resentment just comes like spewing out. The hard part with resent with someone who's narcissistic is they are unaware of it. So most of us who have ever felt resent before, you are fully aware of what it is, and you might stay in that spot for a little while, but at some point you're going to move away. Like, you're not going to stay stuck in resentment for too long because you know that it's not benefiting you. You know that this is not going to change, and you start to understand just why you needed something to change or what you wanted from this person. And maybe they weren't capable of giving it. And so this is where you start either grieving or letting go, managing your expectations on people and what they're capable of doing. So you're able to kind of like work through your feelings because you're being honest with yourself on why you feel the way you do. And you have learned how to work through those feelings that you don't sit in resentment for too long. This is often very true when you're dealing with someone who's narcissistic. They really feel a sense of power living in this resent because what comes next is backlash. And when backlash happens and you are reactive to it, or they feels as though that they got to you, it kind of like reignites the power that this person wants to feel that they probably lost because you threatened their power. So that's kind of like step one. One of the reasons, or the biggest reason, why someone who's narcissistic will resent you and then give you backlash because of it is because you threatened them in some way. You challenged them, you held them accountable, you made them responsible for what they were doing and what they were saying, and they didn't like that. Because they feel threatened, because they feel disrespected by you. And again, this doesn't really matter if it's real disrespect or if it's just perceived because they're manipulative and controlling and wanted to gaslight you and none of that was working. And so they deemed that disrespectful. But either way, they think that they were disrespected. They think that they were treated unfairly. Remember, you're dealing with a really big ego. You're dealing with an inflated sense of self. So this person feels entitled that you should have given them what it is that they wanted from you. Maybe they wanted you to look at them a certain way. Maybe they wanted you to turn the cheek. Maybe they just wanted you to give them something that you were just not capable of giving. What'll happen is they'll just cultivate a bunch of stories that keep feeding this ego, keep feeding that they were the victim and that they were threatened and disrespected, and feeding the story that you are now the bad person. You are now the enemy, and I think this really hurts when you're dealing with romantic relationships or even sometimes really good friendships that you've had with someone who might be narcissistic, and all of a sudden maybe now you realize this, and so you're starting to kind of back away from that relationship, and that has threatened the narcissist, and here we go. Here comes the backlash. Another huge reason that narcissists will carry and harbor resentment towards people is a fear of abandonment. If they feels as though that you've abandoned them in any way, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever it is, they will be extremely annoyed and frustrated by this because remember, someone who's narcissistic needs things from you. They need narcissistic supply. They need people making them feel as though they're enough. They need to be filled up. I mean, talk about high maintenance. And so if you have a fear of abandonment. If a narcissist, just all narcissists have a fear of abandonment. So now you're coming from a fear of abandonment. You are craving everything, attention, admiration, validation, all of those things. And someone threatens that type of narcissistic supply. That right there is going to trigger your abandonment wound. And that trigger is going to send this person spiraling. It's the rejection that they feel as though they're getting, which again makes you out to be the bad guy. Now, maybe you're not rejecting them, you're just actually putting some boundaries in place. Maybe you're really actually being healthy, but to an unhealthy person, this is not healthy behavior. This is a problem. When you start to diminish your narcissistic supply, when you are not feeding that ego, when you are not able to just look the other way and you're not giving this person what it is that they got from you at some point, you are going to get backlash. Like, that is just inevitable. You have been a person that has always not given me any trouble, given me what I needed, loved me, probably to a fault, and never held me accountable. And it wasn't even real love. It was actually unhealthy love. If all of these things have been happening and now all of a sudden, like, you flip the switch, you're learning, you're growing, you're getting better, and you start holding someone accountable and you have boundaries and you have standards, or you're just not even engaging anymore. You've just disengaged completely. You've gone no contact. Whatever those situations look like for you, it is definitely going to linger. I mean, feelings of abandonment, rejection, you're not good supply anymore, it's triggering my ego, like all of that stuff is going to happen. And since that stuff is not being managed and dealt with, something's going to explode. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to be pointed at you, and you're going to get the narcissistic backlash. You're going to start getting them wanting to hurt you even more than they ever have done before. And this is where sometimes it does get worse before it can get better. The way a narcissist is going to show their resentment is so many different types of things. So now we're getting into like the backlash stuff. The first thing you are definitely going to see is passive aggressive behavior. So now we're talking about the subtle little digs, the little comments where it's not really an insult, but that didn't really feel so good. It's going to be disguised, like criticism and things like that you're going to start hearing. They're never going to overtly throw a jab at you. They're going to start by just casually chipping away and poking. When a narcissist feels resentful, they may start even forming these alliances with other people. So call it flying monkeys, call it triangulation. They're going to start wanting people to target you or see you in a negative way. This can be turning friends and family against you. This can be constructing stories that make them look like the victim and you look like the bad person. So they're just going to start manipulating the situation to make them look a certain way in the eyes of other people. This basically does two things. It gives them new supply or a different type of supply, just basically admiration or, you're the victim, you poor thing, all of that kind of stuff that they just crave and love. And it's also going to start frustrating and hurting you, because most people will fight this. Most people will get very annoyed at how this other person, this friend, this family member can think they're the victim when you're actually the victim. So now that you've been targeted and there are rumors spreading and someone thinks that you're the problem, whatever, this is the form of backlash that they're using on you. And if it works, they're going to continue to use it on you. Hoovering is a really big one that will happen in narcissistic relationships. And hoovering doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It can also be a friendship. Like, hey, I'm back. Hey, you want to reconnect again? Let me pop in and see if I can say something to manipulate you or to make you feel sorry for me or to get you just to come back in my life in any way, shape, or form. Let me get some kind of attention from you. Let me see if you will take a bite of that bait that I'm throwing at you. And that really gives them a sense of control. So if you do take the bait, then they were able to control you. If you take it and you can go right back to your old ways and your old relationship, then amazing. Then they get exactly what they needed. Not just someone who's narcissistic, but really anyone who harbors resentment can have sometimes really like erratic mood swings where they're charming and they're normal one minute, and then the next minute they're like, there's almost like an outburst happening. This like erratic behavior happens. That's usually because they're not dealing with how they feel, and their feelings are starting to come to the surface and they're not dealing with them. So they're They're spewing out. And when they spew out, it always will cause a ruckus because they're not taking responsibility for their feelings and what's going on inside of the mind and the stories that they're telling themselves that's making them feel the way they do. So all of that right there is never going to be something that an unhealthy person or a narcissistic person will be able to do for themselves. When that happens, you are going to be dealing with an extremely emotionally charged situation. And if you don't know how to hold on to yourself and stay calm and cool and collected, if none of that stuff can happen, there's going to be problems because you're going to be reactive, and then the person is going to see that they got a rise out of you, and then this whole abusive cycle is still happening. So sometimes people think, especially in romantic relationships, that, well, I'm not with this person anymore, so I'm free, I'm good, I won. Well, you didn't really win if you still have to deal with the person and you're still entangled in the drama with this person and you're still going back and forth with them. So if you're still being reactive, then you're not really free from them. They're still actually controlling you. When a narcissist feels any kind of resentment towards you, there may be a time where they kind of shift the blame. Because remember, someone who can't own how they feel, there's no acknowledgement of any of that, you're never going to have them say, you know what, I'm going to take blame for my part. All of the blame is going to be put on you. This is where you're going to get criticism. This is where this person's going to try to make you feel like there's something wrong with you. And like everything else that I've said, if you take the bait, then you're being controlled. It is so important, not just with someone who's narcissistic, but anyone in general who you feels as though might harbor a little bit of resentment. It is not your job to, throw it out there. Hey, I feel as though you're resentful of me because of X, Y, and Z. You don't have to diagnose people. You don't have to use psychology on people. You can if maybe the person's somewhat open and receptive and can hear this and kind of take responsibility for themselves, then great, then have the conversation. But I think most people have to be able to have some kind of like emotional distance from this person, and they have to be able to have boundaries. And boundaries doesn't mean that you're going to tell someone what they are and they're going to respect them, but boundaries is sometimes boundaries within yourself where you disengage from conversations that you know are not healthy or not good for you. Maybe boundaries is that you kind of state what you will and will not put up with, but at a certain point, you're not going to convince this person or get so flustered and upset when they don't respect your boundaries. You're going to, in a sense, just know that they're probably not going to. And this is more about you kind of getting in that little bubble that I always talk about, protecting yourself and learning how to not be so emotionally reactive. Make sure that you're limiting contact with this person if you can. Make sure that you are practicing how to detach emotionally from them and being a little bit more assertive or disengaging and not letting your ego get triggered where you feel as though you need to tell this person what you think and how you feel and winning this competition with them. Like, we're not trying to do that. This is just about learning how to be healthy. This is about educating yourself. That way you know when you are going toe-to-toe with this person what you should be doing in order to change the outcome that fits, that helps you, not change the outcome so you can win and they can lose. We're not trying to do that anymore. We are trying to get this person to leave us alone. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe down below and click on post notifications. That way I will come to you and you don't have to search for me. When you go on YouTube, you will get notified every time I do upload a new video, which we are doing more videos on the channel throughout the week regarding a bunch of different topics. If there are topics that you would like me to cover, please comment down below as well and let me know what they are. Also, go follow me on social. Everything is linked. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. I love to have a chat with you. Oh, and don't forget our weekly podcast on Heal, Survive, and Thrive. Everything is linked down below, as I've mentioned. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.